What if your balcony, patio, or tiny backyard corner could feed you fresh vegetables all season long without a single inch of garden bed? Most people assume you need a big yard to grow real food, and most people are wrong. The truth is, some of the most productive vegetables on the planet don't just tolerate pots and small spaces, they actually thrive in them. Warmer soil, better drainage, fewer weeds, and you control everything. We're talking fresh tomatoes from your back porch, crispy lettuce steps from your kitchen, and yes, even potatoes and sweet potatoes from containers on your deck. Today, I'm going to walk you through 15 of the best vegetables you can grow in pots and small spaces, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it right. The pot size, the soil, the spacing, the watering, and the little tricks that most gardeners never figure out until after their third failed season. Number 7 on this list is one that surprises almost everyone, and number 12 is about as close to a guaranteed harvest as you're ever going to get in a container. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to turn your small space into a fully productive growing setup. Let's get into it. Number 1. Tomatoes. Tomatoes are probably the first vegetable most people dream about growing when they first think about starting a garden. And the best part is, they grow exceptionally well in pots. A container on a sunny patio can give you a harvest that's just as impressive as anything from a full garden bed, sometimes even better, because you control the soil, the drainage, and the moisture from day one. The key is choosing the right variety. Not every tomato belongs in a container, but most favored varieties for containers are Bush Early Girl and Celebrity. Both produce real, full-flavored tomatoes that American home cooks know and love, and both stay perfectly manageable in a pot from planting through the last harvest of the season. Your pot needs to be at least 12 to 14 inches deep, and honestly, if you have something bigger sitting around, use it. Use a rich, well-draining potting mix with compost mixed in, not garden soil, which compacts in a container and suffocates the roots. Water consistently and check the pot every day in summer to keep the moisture just right for a healthy, thriving plant. Pro tip: plant 1 tomato per pot. Give it the full space, the full nutrition, and the full attention it deserves, and you'll have a lush, endlessly productive plant delivering fresh tomatoes to your kitchen all season long. Number 2. Peppers. Peppers are one of those vegetables that genuinely belong in a container, and there's a very specific reason for that. Peppers love warm soil. In the ground, it takes weeks for the surrounding earth to warm up properly. In a pot, the soil heats up fast, and that warm soil is exactly what peppers thrive in. This is especially true for bell peppers, sweet Italian varieties, and hot peppers like jalapenos and cayenne. They all respond to that warmth with faster growth and earlier fruit set. Choose a pot that is at least 12 inches deep and 12 inches wide. A 3 to 5 gallon container works well for most pepper varieties. Use a well-draining potting mix. Peppers do not like wet feet. If your mix feels heavy, add some perlite to improve drainage. Position them in your sunniest spot because peppers want at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sun per day. A south-facing balcony or patio corner is perfect. The combination of full sun plus the warm soil inside a dark or terracotta pot creates almost ideal pepper growing conditions. For watering, let the top inch of soil dry out slightly between waterings. Peppers prefer it on the drier side compared to tomatoes. Overwatering is actually a more common mistake with peppers than underwatering. Number 3. Lettuce and salad greens. If there's one vegetable that feels like it was truly designed for container growing, it's lettuce. The pot makes everything about growing it easier. You can move it out of afternoon heat on a hot day, you control the moisture, and you can step out the back door and snip exactly what you need for dinner without washing a bag of store-bought greens that's already half wilted. Lettuce has shallow roots, which means you don't need deep pots at all. 6 to 8 inches is plenty. A simple window box, a wide planter, even a repurposed wooden crate works beautifully. This opens up a lot of possibilities: a narrow balcony railing shelf, a small side table, a tiered plant stand with 3 levels, all growing greens at the same time. Space individual plants 6 to 8 inches apart and choose loose-leaf varieties. Black-seeded Simpson and red sales are both excellent, familiar in American kitchens, easy to find at any garden center, and both are cut-and-come-again plants, meaning you take the outer leaves and the center of the plant just keeps growing back and producing more. One technique that makes a real difference in a small space is staggered planting. Instead of filling the whole planter at once, plant half of it and then wait 2 to 3 weeks before planting the other half. What you end up with is a continuous harvest over many weeks, rather than everything ripening at the same time and then nothing. In summer, move the pot somewhere that gets afternoon shade to prevent bolting. Water lightly every day or every other day in warm weather. Those shallow roots dry out quickly, and consistent moisture is what keeps the plant productive.
Number 4. Kale. Kale doesn't just grow in pots, it actually thrives in them, and a single container sitting on a balcony, patio, or even a narrow doorstep can keep your kitchen supplied with fresh, nutritious greens for months without ever needing more space than that. Use a pot at least 12 inches deep. Kale develops a strong taproot. Red Russian and Lacinato are the 2 best varieties to go with. Pick either one and your pot will thank you for it. Always start snipping from the outside of the plant, taking the older, lower leaves first and leaving the center crown completely untouched. That's where all the new growth comes from, and one plant managed this way will keep feeding your kitchen for months on end. Use a rich potting mix with compost worked in, and feed with a balanced liquid fertilizer every few weeks once established. When it comes to companion planting, kale has some great allies in the container garden. Garlic and onions are at the top of that list. Both are natural pest deterrents, and kale can occasionally attract aphids. A pot of either one placed nearby creates a quiet but reliable line of defense, keeping your kale healthy and producing all season long without you ever having to reach for a spray bottle.
Number 5. Swiss chard. While kale thrives in pots through the colder months, Swiss chard is another vegetable that takes container growing to a whole new level because a single pot, managed the right way, can keep producing for close to a full year without ever needing to be replanted. Choose a sunny spot on your balcony, patio, or deck and simply place your pot there. Sow seeds about ½ an inch deep and keep the soil consistently moist through germination. Swiss chard sprouts reliably within 7 to 14 days. Once established, it doesn't ask for much. A balanced fertilizer every few weeks keeps it pushing out fresh growth, and it stays largely trouble-free with very few pest issues compared to most other leafy greens. Swiss chard performs beautifully across a wide range of growing zones, from the mild winters of the U.S. South and the Pacific Coast to the cooler summers of the Northeast, Canada, and the U.K. If you're in a zone where summers get intensely hot, a little afternoon shade goes a long way in keeping the plant productive right through the warm months. Rainbow chard and bright lights are both wonderful choices. Those vivid red, orange, yellow, and white stems look genuinely stunning in a pot, while also bringing real flavor and color to everything from a simple weeknight sauté to a hearty pot of soup. Cut the outer stalks down to 2 to 3 inches from the base, leave the inner leaves untouched, and within 10 to 14 days, your pot is ready to harvest all over again.
Number 6. Garlic. Garlic is another vegetable that grows exceptionally well in pots. No daily checking, no complicated care routine, just a few cloves pushed into a pot and the patience to let nature handle the rest. Any pot that's at least 8 to 10 inches deep will work. Push each clove into the soil pointed end up, about 2 inches down, and 4 to 6 inches apart. One thing most people don't realize is that garlic actually benefits from a cold period, so don't worry if temperatures drop after planting. That chill is what triggers the bulb to develop properly and come back stronger in spring. Rocambole is the variety worth growing. Rich, complex flavor, and it comes with a bonus. In early summer, it sends up garlic scapes, those beautiful curly green shoots that are completely edible and absolutely wonderful chopped into pasta, stirred into butter, or tossed through a quick weeknight stir-fry. Most gardeners who grow it say the scapes alone are worth the whole effort.
Water consistently through the growing period. Then, as the tops begin to yellow, pull back and let the bulbs cure naturally. What you pull up a few months later will taste nothing like anything from a grocery store shelf. And place your garlic pots near your tomatoes, peppers, or kale. The sulfur compounds it naturally releases work quietly in the background, deterring aphids and spider mites from everything growing around it. One small pot doing two jobs at once.
Number 7. Squash. Squash is one of those vegetables that most people assume needs a sprawling garden bed to produce anything worth harvesting. And that assumption is exactly what keeps them from ever trying it in a container. The truth is, with the right variety and a little vertical thinking, squash in a pot can be just as productive as anything growing in the ground. The key is going vertical. Left to its own devices, a squash plant will sprawl 6 to 10 feet in every direction and take over everything around it. But train it up a sturdy trellis, and that same ambitious plant becomes a compact, space-efficient producer that takes up almost no floor space at all. This is one of the most powerful ideas in small space growing. A single pot with a trellis behind it doubles your harvestable area without adding a single square foot to your floor footprint. Bush baby zucchini is the variety to go with. It produces real, full-sized fruits on a plant that stays compact and manageable all season long. One thing worth knowing, squash needs pollinators to set fruit. On a patio with regular bee activity, this takes care of itself, but in a more enclosed space, a small paintbrush and 30 seconds of hand pollination is all it takes to get those fruits forming.
Number 8. Eggplant. Just like peppers, eggplant thrives in warm soil, and that's exactly why container growing works so well for it. Pots heat up faster than any garden bed ever could, and that warm growing environment is what eggplant has been waiting for all along. Give it a hot pot in a sunny spot, full sun all day if possible, and make sure your potting mix is rich and well-draining, with some compost worked in before planting. Water regularly and evenly. Inconsistent moisture is one of the main reasons eggplant develops a bitter flavor, so keeping that soil steadily moist makes a real difference in how the fruit tastes. Feed every few weeks once flowering begins, and keep a pot of basil nearby. Both plants love the same heat, and basil helps deter the thrips and aphids that occasionally show up uninvited. Patio Baby and Hansel are the two varieties worth reaching for. Patio Baby produces clusters of small, beautifully tender fruits that are ideal for roasting and grilling, and Hansel gives you slender, mild-flavored fruits that just keep coming through the warm months. Both are exactly what you want when you're making eggplant parmesan or caponata.
Number 9. Potatoes. I love growing potatoes in pots, and honestly, it might be the most satisfying harvest moment in the entire container garden. When the season is done, you tip the pot over, tumble the soil out onto the ground, and potatoes just roll out from the pile. No digging, no guessing where the tubers might be hiding, no accidentally stabbing one with a fork. It's one of those harvest moments that never gets old. The method is simple, but the sequence matters. Start by adding about 4 to 6 inches of potting mix to the bottom of the pot. Place your seed potatoes on top, spaced about 8 to 10 inches apart, then cover them with another 4 inches of soil and water everything in well. As the stems grow, keep adding more soil to bury them. This process is called hilling, and it's the key to a generous harvest. Every inch of buried stem has the potential to produce potatoes along its length, so the more you hill, the more you get. Potatoes grow well across most zones, and in warmer areas, planting in late winter for a spring harvest keeps the tubers developing in cooler soil, which is exactly when they perform at their best. Pro tip: once the plant flowers, that's your signal that potatoes are forming underground. Give it another 2 to 3 weeks from that point, and your harvest will be at its absolute peak.
Number 10. Cauliflower. Speaking of vegetables that do surprisingly well in pots and containers, let's talk about cauliflower, a vegetable that genuinely thrives in pots and containers. And once you understand what it needs, the whole thing clicks into place really quickly. Being a cool season crop works in your favor here because your pot is movable. You can start it earlier in spring by placing it in a sheltered, sunny corner while the ground is still cold, and as summer heat builds, you simply shift it somewhere with a little more shade to keep the plant going longer. That kind of flexibility is something no ground gardener has. Snow Crown and Dwarf Igloo are the two varieties to go with. Both stay compact enough for a container and produce tight, beautiful heads that are worth every bit of the weight. Soil quality matters more with cauliflower than almost any other vegetable on this list. Use a rich, moisture-retentive potting mix with a generous amount of compost worked in. And there's one step most gardeners skip but really shouldn't: blanching. When the white curd begins to form, gather the outer leaves up over it and secure them loosely with a rubber band or garden twine. This shields the head from direct sunlight, keeping it bright white and clean-flavored all the way to harvest. A nearby pot of garlic or onions will quietly deter the cabbage moths and aphids that occasionally target cauliflower, a small touch that makes the whole setup work that much more smoothly.
Number 11. Peas. If you want more harvest from one pot without using extra space, peas are a great choice, as long as you let them grow upward. Without support, they spread out, tangle, and produce less, but add a simple trellis, even bamboo sticks with twine, and they'll climb 4 to 5 feet, turning one container into a productive vertical wall. This is a key idea in small space gardening. Use height to increase yield without adding floor space. Peas are one of the easiest crops to see this work. Little Marvel and Tom Thumb are ideal varieties, compact, container-friendly, and productive. Peas are a cool season crop you can plant early in spring. They tolerate light frost, giving you a head start. For a longer harvest, sow once in early spring and again 3 to 4 weeks later. Water consistently, ensure good drainage, and water at the base to reduce disease like powdery mildew.
Number 12. Onions. Onions are one of the most space-efficient crops you can grow in containers because instead of one large harvest, you get multiple small ones packed tightly together. They don't need much room to grow. In fact, a single pot can hold a surprising number of plants. And if you harvest some early as green onions, you naturally create more space for the rest to mature into full bulbs. Choose the right type based on your goal. If you want quick results, go for green onions. They grow fast and are ready to harvest early. For full bulbs, use sets or small starter onions instead of seeds to speed things up and reduce failure. Onions prefer full sun and well-drained soil. Since they have shallow roots, consistent watering matters. Let the soil dry out too much and growth slows, but keep it soggy and bulbs can rot. Balance is key. One simple trick makes a big difference. Don't bury them too deep. The top of the bulb should sit just at or slightly above the soil surface. This allows proper bulb formation instead of forcing the plant to stay small.
Number 13. Okra. Okra is one of the most underrated vegetables in the home garden. Incredibly productive, fast-growing, and so heat-tolerant that it keeps pumping out harvest through the hottest weeks of summer, when most other vegetables have slowed down or given up entirely. And here's the thing most people don't realize. All of that makes it a perfect fit for a container. Pots sitting in full sun heat up fast, and okra runs on heat the way most plants run on water. A dark container on a summer patio creates exactly the kind of warm, toasty growing environment that okra thrives in, and once it gets going in that kind of heat, the production becomes almost automatic. Place your pot in the hottest, sunniest spot you have. A south-facing wall, a sun-baked corner of the patio, anywhere that gets 8 or more hours of direct sun. Use a pot at least 12 inches deep. Fill it with a well-draining potting mix and sow seeds once the weather has warmed up. Okra germinates best when soil temperatures are consistently warm, so don't rush it into a cold pot. Wait for the right moment and it will reward you quickly. Cajun Delight is a compact, high-yielding variety that performs beautifully in containers, and Burgundy is genuinely one of the most beautiful plants you'll ever grow in a pot. Deep red stems and pods that look almost ornamental, right up until you realize just how productive it actually is. And here's the most important thing to remember once it starts producing.
Harvest the pods when they're 3 to 4 inches long. Leave them a day or two too long, and they turn tough and fibrous almost overnight. Check the plant every single day, because the more consistently you harvest, the more pods the plant sends out. It's one of those rare vegetables where the more you take, the more it gives.
Number 14. Carrots. Carrots in pots, most people think it's too complicated. The roots need deep ground, the soil has to be perfect. One wrong move and you get twisted, forked, unusable roots. That reputation isn't entirely unfair, but once you know 2 simple adjustments, carrots in a pot become one of the most rewarding grows in a small space. First, variety. Standard long carrots fork and twist in a pot. Short-rooted types are a different story entirely. Chantenay and Paris Market are the 2 to go with. Chantenay gives you chunky, sweet roots perfect for soups and roasting. Paris Market grows almost as wide as it is tall, ideal for shallower pots, and incredible eaten straight from the garden. Second, soil. Use a lightweight, stone-free potting mix. Even the smallest pebble will cause a root to fork around it. Sow seeds directly into the pot, thin seedlings to 2 to 3 inches apart, and you're most of the way there. The pot itself at least 8 to 10 inches deep, wide enough to fit multiple plants. The wider the better. More plants, more carrots, more harvest.
Number 15. Sweet potatoes. Let's end with sweet potatoes, the last on our list, but certainly not the least. Just like carrots surprised us with what's possible underground, sweet potatoes take that idea even further, and most container gardeners overlook them entirely, which is a mistake, because they deliver one of the most satisfying harvests of the entire season. There is one thing to know going in. Sweet potatoes are vining plants. The vines will spill over the edges of the pot and spread across your patio or balcony, but this isn't a problem at all. Let them trail over the side and along a railing, across a low wall, or down from an elevated surface. If you want to keep things tidy, just pinch back the vine tips, and the plant redirects its energy straight into developing bigger tubers underground. Use a pot at least 12 to 16 inches deep. Sweet potatoes need that room to develop properly. Start from slips rather than seeds. Slips are the small rooted shoots that sprout from a mature sweet potato, easy to find at garden centers in spring. Beauregard is the variety to go with. Deep orange flesh, reliable producer, and absolutely wonderful roasted, mashed, or baked.